Morning, everybody. I'm Jim Williams from KKVM 104.7 The Mile. Newly boosted in Frisco and Silverthorne, by the way, so you can hear us a lot better from Edwards. And just want to welcome everyone to the Silverthorne and Frisco Town Council forums. And the Silverthorne event is going to be rebroadcast on channels 10 and in high def on 880. So they'll be able to see every single pore and sweat drop up here. And we do have our candidates for Silverthorne Town Council. We've allowed about an hour for this forum, and voters will be electing 4 of these folks. In alphabetical order, they are Russ Camp. Those of you who are here can applaud if you like. And Robert Kieber. Tom Marmons. Joanne Nadlin, and Tanya Shattuck. And so, candidates, we're going to be allowing you a 2-minute opening introduction statement. We'll also have 2-minute answers on our questions, and you'll have a 2-minute closing statement. And sprinkled in between the questions, we'll have kind of lightning round topics to just come up with a quick answer, 1 or 2 words, that kind of thing. So we'll try to throw you a curveball on occasion, and so hopefully you won't know when those are coming. So let's begin, and we'll start with that alphabetical order to begin with. We may go up the table one way and down the other as we get going. But let's have you introduce yourselves, explain why you're running, who you are, your favorite thing about Silverthorne, and let's begin with Mr. Camp. Russ?
Good morning, everyone. Judy and I have lived in Silverthorne for 9 years now. We've been in the county for 21. I moved here from the East Coast where I had never done anything for where I lived. And it was very important to us that we get involved in where we live when we moved out here. So I spent time in the Snake River Planning Commission, about a dozen years, Open Space Advisory Council, a dozen years there, 7 years on the Planning Commission for the town of Silverthorne, and now 2 years on council. And I am looking to get finished some of the things we have had an opportunity to start. And that includes, there's a theater, that sign out there says you're going to be one. I'd like to see it through to fruition. And I'd like to see the town hall have a place you can come walk and shop. It's a long project, but it's something that this town needs. The last thing is there's a little place called Smith Ranch. And our vision of how to build it out is to go ahead and take the 11 acres on the front and put commercial there, but then affordable housing in the middle, which you'll be able to do somewhere between 160 and 200 units of affordable housing. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Russ. And let's get our next opening statement from Robert Kieber.
I'm Bob Kieber. I've been a resident of Silverthorne since 1991. Moved here from the Midwest. Married, just had 40th anniversary. Parent, 4 great grandkids. Unfortunately, don't live here. The reason I'm running is I've been part of Silverthorne, like I said, since 1991. I've been on the board at Willowbrook. I've been on the board at the ponds at Blue River, where I currently live. 14 roughly years on the Silverthorne Planning Commission, all volunteer. I've been involved in Summit County Youth Baseball, as a coach, as the treasurer, as the board president. The reason I'm running is I volunteered a lot of time. I like Silverthorne. We've had the opportunity at any time to pick up and move, and we don't. My wife and I like Silverthorne. It's the banana belt of the county, so we like the springs and the fall, and like the progress that's been made down there. There's a lot of things going on with Silverthorne, and having been on the Planning Commission, I have a background of what's happened, where we are now, and what the plan is for the future. So I ask that if you would vote for me, as I will continue on doing things open-mindedly and what's best to benefit for the town of Silverthorne.
Thank you, Bob. And our next opening comes from Tom Marmons. Tom.
Good morning. This morning I decided to change my opening remarks after reading the headline on page 2 of the Summit Daily and the letters to the editor today. I think everybody should take a look at that. One of my motivations for running for Silverthorne Council is to bring transparency to the council so that citizens of Silverthorne can get to know what was happening in their town before it happened, not after. For example, the theater. My wife and I are avid supporters of the theater, but a project that was originally proposed to cost approximately $4 million now exceeds $9 million. Again, there was no input from the residents, and I agree with the statement made by one of the other candidates, Bob Keeber, who said, "It's not always build it and they will come." A quote from Donna Braun, finance director, is even more interesting. "Higher annual debt payments mean less funds available for other capital projects and specifically asset management projects. Could that mean workforce housing and finishing the bike path are on hold? But in addition, I want to express both my concern and my bewilderment. The campaign signs of mine have been removed and tossed down a hill, and 2 signs on the back door of Greer Appliance have mysteriously disappeared. They are back up. It is becoming more evident that Silverthorne Town Council is a closed circuit, and someone who wants to bring transparency to is considered a threat. So let's gang up on them and make every effort to keep them out. 2 of the candidates claim they are running for re-election. They were never elected. They were appointed. And all 4 of the candidates running as a slate have backgrounds that began as appointed members of the Planning Commission. It's up to you, the voters, if you want to break this chain and elect me as the outsider. I believe my role as a member of Town Council is to separate my personal goals from what is best for the community."
And that's time, Tom, thank you. And our next opening from Joanne Nadler.
I was appointed to the Silverthorne Town Council in July 2015 to fill a vacancy that, as required by the town charter, and I did serve on the Planning Commission prior to that. Prior to that, in 2013, I started attending Planning Commission meetings and Town Council meetings, and I can tell you that Silverthorne does have a very open and transparent form of government. EDAC meetings are open to the public, sport committee meetings are open to the public, all of our volunteer committee meetings are open to the public, including Planning Commission, Town Council, and Town Council work sessions. I'm running for re-election because I care about the people of Silverthorne, I care about our citizens, and I want to help us continue to be successful. I believe in the vision for Silverthorne that our citizens helped us to develop. I'm an active volunteer in the community. I've had a successful 25-year career in finance and accounting, and because of that, I'm thoughtful and analytical. I've demonstrated my ability to work with diverse groups of people to accomplish things. And I'd like to try to figure out how we can do things, not why we can't. We've got a lot of positive momentum going on in Silverthorne, and we need to continue to do things in a positive way to work with our citizens and to move the town forward. My favorite thing about Silverthorne is our people. Our residents care about the community, and they're involved in creating positive change for the town. The participation that we get on our volunteer committees and at our community events is amazing, and we have a fantastic town staff that's dedicated to customer service. An effective town council member should be somebody who's willing to listen and talk to citizens and businesses and communicate their ideas to the rest of the council. We shouldn't be here to advance our own personal agendas. We should be here to serve the citizens of Silverthorne. And I'd like to state for the record, nobody in the town is removing candidate signs unless they're in a right-of-way. And I don't believe any of the candidates are out there taking people's signs down. I resent the implication that that's happening.
Thank you, Joanne. And our final opening statement from Tanya Shattuck.
Hi, good morning. My name is Tanya Shattuck, and I just want to let everyone know that I love the direction that the town is going. I think, and where we're taking it. And I want to be a part of this. I love where I live. I love my house. I love my community. I love my dogs, my husband, and my cat. I see it and right now seeing where the town is growing is absolutely phenomenal to me. Is with the controlled development. I've been in Sumner County for 24 years, 14 of those in Silverthorne. I have been on the Planning Commission for 9 years and actively love that. Been very much involved making sure that Silverthorne is going in the right direction. And right now, I think it's a great time where we are getting excited and seeing where the town is going. I've also been on several other committees. For the last 3 years, I've been on the Police Citizens Advisory, and I'm also for Silverthorne and for Summit County. Many of those years working in the county, I've been at Keystone, several of the private hotels, banking in the community, and the last 2 years I've been working for Summit County government. I love where the town is going. The whole town core, combined with the building of the theater that we're looking at, making that a hub of where Silverthorne is going, making that walkable and pedestrian friendly, and I'm excited about that. Also, the bike path, I agree that we need to continue that, and I'm excited about being involved and making sure that we can continue more bike paths around here. I'm an active sports enthusiast of Silverthorne. I'm constantly out cross-country skiing, biking, using the river. I absolutely love it. And so I just really feel that being on the town council I would be a benefit for that, making sure it's fair, effective voice for all of Silverthorne residents.
All right, thank you, Tanya. And those are your opening statements from your 5 candidates for Silverthorne Town Council, ladies and gentlemen. Silverthorne voters will be selecting 4 of these folks for the seats that are available. And before we get into our actual questions, we do want to thank our sponsors for the forums both here in Frisco today and in Breckenridge last night, the Summit Association of Realtors, the Summit County Builders Association, and our friends at the Summit Daily News. We do want to remind our candidates that we are going to keep it to our 2-minute time limit today because we have so many more candidates in these 2 races than in the other 2 at the south end of the county. And you will have Sarah Thorstensen, Chief Executive of the Association of Realtors, giving you the times from the front row on your left. So glance up every few seconds and take a look at about where you are. When time's up, time will be up. So let's get into our first question. We'll start taking you down from this end of the table to that end. So we'll begin with Bob Keeper. And the first question this morning is, are you concerned about how construction defects litigation and how it might impact the town's new comprehensive plan that includes condo construction? Bob?
Interesting question, as I know the state of Colorado is actively looking at this right now. And I will say I'm probably the only one up here that has been involved as a plaintiff in a multi-million-dollar construction defect. Where I live at the Ponds, we did sue our developer because of construction defect and won in excess of $10 million, went through a reconstruction. So I'm pretty well aware of what defects are and what litigation can and can't do. Until the state really figures out what their stance is, I think it's a little premature for us to be saying too much about it on what we can and can't do. But as a town council member, I think it's my responsibility to make sure that we have the building codes and we have the inspections and the process for the inspections intact, so hopefully we never get into that situation where we have construction defects. Is to set up a particular law at this point in time saying that we're going to limit it, I think is premature. But I will walk into any type of proposal totally open-minded, keeping in mind that we are interested in development in Silverthorne, but also on the same time, at the same time, we need to make sure that whoever buys those units is legally protected if there is a defect.
All right, thank you, Bob. Next, Joanne Nadler.
I am concerned about the construction defect law and its impact on our ability to develop our downtown. But as Bob said, it's critically important that purchasers of condos are protected from construction defects. But we also have to protect from frivolous lawsuits. A 2013 study by the Denver Regional Council of Governments concluded that the developers believed the probability of getting sued in Colorado for a construction defect was close to 100% if there were an HOA involved. And again, as Bob said, partisan politics at the state level is really making this difficult to address. However, at least 12 communities covering over 2 million people in the Front Range have passed their own construction defect law, including Denver, Douglas County, and Colorado Springs. However, developers still are in limbo, so a lot of those communities haven't seen condo development move forward. The construction defect law has no doubt reduced the number of condos that are being built, and that impacts us because condos are a good first entree for people into the housing market. They can be a good affordable housing option, and so by limiting that, we could be limiting people's ability to get into affordable housing. Plus, we want to have a vibrant downtown, and having people live in and around downtown full-time is critical to that. I think if the state legislature and courts don't resolve this soon, we should work with Summit County and the other municipalities to try to come up with a local law that will encourage developers to build residential and multi-use projects in Summit County and specifically in Silverthorne. But again, I want to emphasize, if we were to do this, we have to make sure home buyers are protected. Nobody wants their home to worry about a home purchase having a major structural defect or a design flaw. We've got good developers and builders in Summit County, and we need to come up with something that's fair to both buyers and builders.
And thank you, Joanne. Next on that question, Tanya Shattuck.
So the question being, are you concerned about the construction defects litigation? And my answer is also yes, I am concerned about that. The big thing being is that I have spoke to several planners and also real estate agents. And I guess the big thing on this I'm finding out is Denver has gone ahead and made this part of their they've gone ahead and researched this enough and gotten it so that it's in their codes and things like that and for protection. I feel at this point maybe we need to sit back, see what's going on. I mean, luckily we do have some building going on around here. Larry Feldman, Terry Novak has been very instrumental in our areas and still keep going ahead forward on this. So that's something to think about. I want to make sure that the research is done. You know, maybe it is that we have to go into litigation over this. You know, I do want to get involved if the other mountain communities are interested in doing this. Then we need to see what everybody else is doing. I guess it's a matter of seeing what the other Summit County towns want to do, seeing what the whole mountain communities are pursuing. But I also agree that in the sense that I do want I want to protect our homeowners. I think it's very important in the sense of ownership, making condos available, making sure that our growth in Silverthorne with the downtown core happens. So in that sense, I guess at this point I'd like to sit back and see what's going on, being constantly researching it and see where we're taking this for the future.
All right, Tanya, thank you. And reminding us of the question, it is, are you concerned about construction defects litigation and how it might impact the town's comprehensive plan, including condo construction? Tom Martins.
And the answer is absolutely. I met yesterday with two of the major builders here in Summit County, and they're not interested in building high-density condos and exposing themselves to litigation. If the Silverthorne Town Center is to be successfully developed, it'll be necessary to change some of the condo laws. Right now, 2/3 of a board can bring a suit. They would like to see it changed to 2/3 of the homeowners of a condominium complex. This would make it more difficult for a law firm specializing in construction defect law to convince a small majority to file, in many cases, frivolous lawsuits that would most often be settled out of court. Keep in mind, there are very legitimate construction defect suits, such as the one in the ponds that Bob mentioned. Without relief for a major construction defect unit, owners would have suffered unacceptable financial losses. During litigation, owners found it hard to sell. Buyers are very hesitant. In addition, financing is almost impossible during these litigations. It is to both owner and contractor's benefit that all new regulations are written with input from all parties, so both are protected. The perfect project has yet to be built. Needless to say, if IBC and IRC regulations are followed and all the inspections were performed to the letter of law, none of this would be possible. Hard to believe, but I doubt that any project will ever get to that point. So we really need to work on protecting both parties and trying to get as many condo builders back into the picture as possible.
All right, thank you, Tom. And for our final answer on this question, Russ Cannon.
Thank you. The issues that have been raising their head in Denver as far as the condo construction defects laws, from what I have been able to find out, and I have been involved in condos and Summit County for 21 years, where a realtor had until just recently, and got involved in it quite in-depth. Fact is, at the same time that the issues were taking place at the ponds, I had a customer who wanted to buy a ponds. And so we got into quite a bit of in-depth as to what had happened, how it was going to be fixed. And from my understanding, the way it was settled eventually came out beneficial to the owners at the ponds, not so much to the developer. We, for the most part, have very reliable and ethical builders in Summit County. That gives me a reason to not be too concerned over the defects law to date. My experience also leads me to believe, I also obviously have had a house built from scratch. In fact, this lady in the back's husband designed it. So anyway, I do not think that we have that much of a reason to be concerned. We have Larry's building with 31 condo units going in. Our staff does an incredible job of making sure every step of the way that what's being built is to or exceeds the standards that will suffice for Summit County.
And Russ, that is time, sir.
Okay, good, I timed that pretty good.
That was good. Now it's time for our first lightning topic, and we'll just want a one or two word answer from each of you, and we'll come back down the table with this one. So we'll start with Russ. Name a new type of business you'd like to see in Silverthorne.
Well, we already have a couple of...
Just a couple words, Russ.
Okay, restaurants.
All right, Tom.
Hotels.
Tanya.
Fun restaurants and bars.
Joanne.
Arts and culture.
Bob.
Costco or Sam's.
All right, there you go. See, you get kind of an insight when I think of something quickly. All right, our second big question, then again, we'll have 2-minute answers on, and this time we'll start in the middle of the table with Tanya. Workforce housing projects, are there enough in Silverthorne's master plan? Do you feel comfortable with the ratio of family homes, workforce housing, and rentals? What does Silverthorne need, in your opinion? Tanya?
Okay, great, thank you. As far as workforce housing, yes, I feel that is a huge issue. I would like to continue to keep working towards making sure that our firefighters, police officers, nurse staff, teachers, those kind of professions are able to get into housing. I feel it's very important for them to be able to find a place to live, be part of our community. And so luckily in Silverthorne, we have Sierra Madre, we have the Blue River Apartments, which I feel I would like to keep our continued partnership going with them. I think that's very important. As far as constantly building more, I think condos are definitely a great way to get started in the community as a first home. I know it was mine. And then working your way up. I think Silverthorne does a good job of having those apartments, condos, townhouses, and single-family homes. And we need to keep that continuing momentum going. One thing that we need to think about also that I haven't heard other people bring up is we have so many, if you really look at the businesses in Silverthorne, a lot of apartments are attached to those businesses, and I think that's really important. I think we need to continue that going and making sure that when businesses do come in town, that they do add those extra apartments for their employees. I think that's a huge incentive and a great way to keep that going. I feel that we do, I think that Silverthorne does a good adequate job of that, but obviously there is always room for growth and more development in happening. I am excited about the Smith Ranch and where that it can go, and having it make sure that it is all levels, all incomes and things like that can be involved. I would like to see it from the starter home all the way to the, your final house. And then if I felt that this would, if Silverthorne needs more, I'd like to see it continue growing. Luckily in Silverthorne, we have a lot of growth and room for development.
All right, thank you, Tanya. And we'll alternate out from the middle on this one, so next to answer it is Tom.
Well, Silverthorne Ranch is a big issue. Right now, the apartments that were just mentioned are really servicing the 60% AMI community. They're not an opportunity to get your foot in the door of owning a piece of property. There have been 2 proposals made from the Smith Ranch, and both were rejected because there wasn't enough funds, quote unquote, to put in the infrastructure. Right now, there are very few parcels in Silverthorne that have infrastructure that a developer could come in and immediately start to develop. So we have to look at where we can build infrastructure and where those funds are going to come from now to build that infrastructure. There were over 300 units built in the county of Summit. Silverthorne has built less than 20. We're way behind, and the Housing Authority has been trying to work desperately to get Silverthorne involved in the new building. And there are still several builders that would love to come into Silverthorne, but they need help from the Silverthorne Town Council in order to get infrastructure in order to begin.
Thank you, Tom. And alternating back this way, Joanne.
I think Silverthorne is and has been looking at the right things in our efforts to provide more workforce housing. We invested $2.7 million to purchase the Smith Ranch property, and we did meet with developers to come up with a plan to build actually around 180 homes with a mix of both workforce and market housing, but a huge subsidy would have been required from the town. Even though a countywide needs assessment was done in 2014 or 2013, demands for different types of housing have changed dramatically since then. So whatever we decide to do, it's got to provide us with the flexibility to respond to the needs of the community. And that means we need to be looking at apartments, condos, townhomes, and single-family homes. But we also have to take into account demographics and demographic trends. With more millennials moving here, if we had built 180 single-family homes, we'd have people clamoring for condos because not everyone wants a single-family home. I agree with Tanya, and as I've said before, I think we should be looking at affordable housing for people in the 80 to 120% area median income range, so that we're providing home ownership opportunities for people like policemen and firefighters and the town employees, the people who are the foundation of our community. The 60% AMI properties, I think new construction of those should be spread more throughout the county so that people are living closer to where they work. In the short term, I think there are short-term opportunities, and I think we need to update the countywide needs assessment, and we should look at other opportunities like infill projects, rehabilitation opportunities. It doesn't all have to be about building. We can use down payment assistance, housing subsidies, and we can encourage developers to build housing by using the density bonus that we recently passed for the downtown. And additionally, we have to find ways to engage employers in this process. I'm on the Summit Combined Housing Authority as the Silverthorne representative, and I can tell you it's not a simple answer to any of these problems. Silverthorne has been actively involved in this and will continue to be actively involved in it because we're concerned about our community.
All right, thank you, Joanne. Down to the far end we go, Russ.
Thank you. Enough was the way the question was posed. I don't think we will know whether or not the 160 to 200 units that are being proposed for the Smith Ranch will be enough until we get them built out. They're going to be built out with different price levels, but each price level is looking to be, as Joanne stated, 80 to 120 AMI. We think that's the sweet spot of what our workforce people can deal with, okay? Just recently, sitting on town council, we had a developer come to us and say, we've got a business in town to help have workforce housing for the people who run my business, I would like to build a condo on top of the business. Makes sense, it got approved, okay? No more space taken up. Really, for all intents and purposes, it takes another tap. But other than that, everything's already there for that additional 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo to be added to Silverthorne's backlot. I'm done.
Okay, thanks, Russ. And for our final answer on the workforce housing question, are there enough units in the master plan, and what does Silverthorne need? Bob Key.
I volunteered for the Silverthorne Planning Commission free of charge for many years. The reason I got involved in this was I'm a strong believer in real estate development because I believe that there's nothing as constant as change. But to change and to force in any type of additional housing without thoroughly looking at it as a responsible development, I'm not for. Any development that might come before Silverthorne, I'm going to look at open-mindedly, which I have done for 14-plus years on the Planning Commission. One of the things I would like to see Silverthorne have is more rentals. A lot of the people that we have that move into Silverthorne are seasonal. And as the seasonal people move in, they take rental houses that could be a primary home for someone. They get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 people into a house. They're there for the season and they're gone. When if we had more rentals for that type of seasonal employee, it would open up the housing market for people to purchase. There's something in land developments, it is called the wave effect. And I learned this years ago for one of the municipalities I work for in administration. As homes get older, the people originally in those homes move up or move out so somebody else can move in. Willowbrook, where I lived for many years, is in that transition, where young families now can come in and move in there, buy those homes. They're great starter homes. But unless we have the rentals for the seasonal employees, they're going to be eaten up, because if you're the owner, where are you going to make more money? You can rent it, you can make a boatload of money renting it, and it may sit empty for 6 months, but it's paid your mortgage. So I'm for reasonable development. I will open-mindedly look at anything that comes before us, but I think that we need to have just responsible development.
All right, thank you, Bob. And that's our second major question. Time for another lightning one, and the candidates have not seen this because I was given authority to create some of these myself. So, we got good responses to this one last night in Breckenridge. So we'll start with Bob and go down the line. And we want 1 or 2 words, your thoughts on marijuana.
Not for it.
Joanne.
Responsible owner in Silverthorne.
Tanya.
Recreation?
I'm sure a lot of Summit County residents would go with that word as well. Tom?
Great source of revenue.
Russ?
Not responsible.
All right, there you have it again, some insight, ladies and gentlemen. All right, and we have our third major question. And we'll start, let's see. We'll start with Joanne, alternate to Tom, alternate to Bob, to Russ, and then Tanya, you'll be final on this one. So, this question is, what do the candidates see as the challenges facing Silverthorne in your term if elected, and how do you personally plan to help overcome them? So Joanne, start us off.
The first issue for me is strong economic health. Unlike other communities in Summit County, Silverthorne doesn't collect a property tax from our residents, so we're highly dependent on sales taxes. Therefore, one of the most important issues for us is to stay focused on economic development and the strength of our business base. The sales taxes generated by our businesses are what allow us to do a great job at providing basic services like public safety and road maintenance and to undertake new projects. The best way to address this is to expand our business base, including attracting new businesses to downtown and supporting our existing businesses. We can do this by making it easier to do business in Silverthorne, ensuring Silverthorne is a place people want to come to shop, and through innovative programs like our business development program. Second, as we just discussed in detail, we have to continue to address workforce housing. And that includes not only Smith Ranch, but other more immediate opportunities like those we just talked about. Third is the development of our downtown and capitalizing on our investment in the Performing Arts Center. It's a catalyst for the development of downtown, and it will contribute to our economic health. It's also going to expand what's available to the community in arts, culture, and other activities like outdoor movies and concerts. That's why we decided to invest in it. For the last 10 years, Silverthorne's residents have been telling us they want a downtown, and it's up to us to try to get there. Since the announcement of our partnership with the Lake Dome Theater Company on the Performing Arts Center, we've seen projects like the River's Edge condos and Angry James Brewery get underway, and there's more interest in Silverthorne. The town core rezoning that we recently completed will make it more attractive for businesses to locate downtown. By continuing to work with our volunteer committees like EDAC, we can attract businesses to Silverthorne and realize that vision of a thriving downtown.
All right, thank you, Joanne. Next, Tom.
I think I'll be short and brief. We need infrastructure for businesses to come in. We want to bring in, as everybody has said, restaurants, hotels, and other facilities for the general public. But right now, we don't really have the areas or the infrastructure to just pop them into the town. So we need to develop and really work at building infrastructure throughout Silverthorne so that we can get these businesses in. There seems to be an incredible amount of interest, but there's also a very limited amount of available land that's ready or prepared for those businesses to come in.
All right, Tom, thank you. Back on this end, Bob.
Town of Silverthorne is kind of unique. It's always been kind of considered the blue-collar city, town in the county. We have a couple of challenges, some that are just generally ongoing. We've got somewhat of a transient minor population, we're looking at housing. Crime. I'm a strong advocate that our police department is well-trained, well-equipped, because if we don't have a safe community, we don't have a community. The couple of the things that I would like to see implemented and that are just long-term goals for challenges is more of an active, like a Silverthorne Business Association where we meet monthly. We have the asset of the town pavilion. We have business owners come in. Other business owners that could be looking at Silverthorne could come in and see the activity of what's going on with the business owners that are already there. We need to take care of our business owners that are there. Workforce housing is always a challenge. It's always going to be a challenge in our community. We're fortunate we have a lot of developable land, probably more than any of the other towns put together, to come up with something that can allow for workforce housing, allow for some first-time home buyers and young families. So challenges compared to what a lot of other big cities have, we're pretty boring. So, and we're fortunate. I just want to make sure that we continue on, that whatever minor challenges we have, we approach properly.
All right, thank you, Bob. We go down to the far end to Russ.
Thank you. Challenges. Every town has its challenges. We have heard loud and clear, somebody mentioned the sales tax versus real estate tax. We have heard loud and clear, no way, no real estate tax in Silverthorne. And consequently, thank you, we have the factory stores, and we have Target, and we have Murdoch's, and we have Lowe's. Each of those helps keep us funded fairly decently. What we need to develop, and it will require money and time, is a walkable downtown. So you come park and can spend several hours or half a day enjoying a downtown that has incredible views just walking along the highway. If you look up to the west, those views are really fairly magnificent, okay? I am part of a group who has a vision of moving the downtown all the way to Adams Avenue. There's a lot of space in there. And yes, it'll take time because we have to buy, as properties become available, the town is going to have to work with developers to buy up that property so we can develop it into a storefront lower level and then residential on the second and third level. hope it never gets any higher than that. Thank you.
Thank you, Russ. And our final answer on the challenges facing Silverthorne, time.
I still feel as with the town core, I really am excited about the theater coming, the hub of the whole, making it walkable town and pedestrian friendly. And I want to keep that momentum going. One thing I also like to do is continue looking at the other avenues that haven't been addressed recently, and that would be the bike path. I would love it so that everything kind of keeps continuing along those lines. Nobody's brought up the rodeo field area. I think that's something of very good importance. You know, when I first came to Silverthorne, that used to be a fun activity, and I haven't seen anything there in many years, so I'd like to see that built back up. And that also goes with the softball fields. I'm not a softball player, but I feel that that would be an area that would be nice to see other activities going on in that area. And then also, there's been talk about the kind of the dam hill over there. So I think that would be something that I would like to look forward to and look at that as a challenge. One thing that I also look at is encouraging our Hispanics in the community to discuss with them, participating more in our arts and cultural activities, see what else they would like to do, and work towards those goals. Other things that I see would be important, obviously, has been our housing issue that we've discussed. I'd like to keep that momentum going. Working on looking at doing things and doing growth and development in the Smith Ranch area. I really just feel that it would be more looking towards being fair and effective voice for Silverthorne residents.
All right, very good. Thank you, Tanya. And those are our major questions, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to throw one more brief one at the candidates before we get their closing comments. And they've all touched on this at various points throughout. But for a final, just before your closings, just like to get a couple words, and we'll start at this end with Bob and go down to Russ. Just a couple words, your top thoughts on creating downtown. Bob.
Couple words. It's viable.
Viable. All right, Joanne.
Performing Arts Center.
Time.
Fun, energy, walkability.
Tom.
Accessibility.
And Russ.
Developer involvement.
All right, there you have it. We capsulized the entire issue very quickly. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, I spilled stuff. Oh, that's just me. All right, we are ready for our closing comments, and we'll go back to alphabetical order as we open. Candidates, you can tell us anything in your 2 minutes here that you might not have touched on or that you wanted to emphasize. So, for our closings, first candidate, Russ Cannon.
Thank you very much. 21 years in Summit County, 9 in Silverthorne. This is the best place I've ever lived. I'm on town council because it's extremely important that we be involved in developing. Silverthorne has got so far to go. It's come a ways, but it's got a lot further to go than it's come. And I really would like to be involved in moving Silverthorne forward in the way we have started, with the theater, a walkable downtown, developing the Smith Ranch, expanding the rec center. There's so much to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Russ. Russ Cannon, ladies and gentlemen. And now for our next closing, Robert Keeper.
Thanks, Jim. Running for Silverthorne Town Council, not because I have to, because I want to. I've been involved in the community, I've been involved in youth sports, I've been involved in my homeowners associations. I've got a vast, what I consider a vast experience in the town of Silverthorne, but also a background of having been employed by 2 other much larger municipalities years ago. So I look at things maybe a little bit different. Maybe I have a monkey on my back because I still drive down Highway 9 and I can tell you sewer inlets that aren't working and street lights that aren't lit and things like that that maybe other people can't see. Silverthorne is a place that my wife and I chose to move here 25 years ago. We're to the point in life where we could pick up and move on to anywhere, and we looked. We can't find any place better. I don't even want to have a second home anyplace else. I like to do a little traveling, but I always want to come home. Silverthorne's my home. I've been on the planning commission, like I said earlier, I've done it free of charge. Anything that I've ever been involved in, I believe that I got involved because I wanted to make it a little bit better, and I think I can honestly say everything I've been involved in, I've left a little bit better. I would ask that as your ballot comes in the mail, I'm the top guy on there. First time that I've been on top of a list that's actually a good list. So please check Robert Keeper. Thanks.
Bob Keeper, ladies and gentlemen. And for our next closing comments for 2 minutes, Tom Armins.
Transparency. I completely disagree with the notion that being a member of the Planning Commission is a necessary qualification for town council. For one thing, all Planning Commission members are appointed by the council, so the good old boy network is perpetuated by this procedure. Outsiders are rarely appointed, and when they are, they don't seem to last very long. But I'm a member, well, I'm not a member of the Planning Commission, but I am a member of the Police Advisory Board. I'm on the Board of Directors for CASA. I'm on the Summit Community Care Clinic Board. The government thought it was good to appoint me as a member of the Judicial Review Commission to bring a non-jurist view onto that panel. I'm not afraid of diversity, which helps bring to light different perspectives to help formulate acceptable decisions that meet the needs of the group represented. Yet the Silverthorne Town Council continues to insist that only members of their close social and political circle can be qualified to be a council person. I don't believe this, and I hope that you don't either. Silverthorne needs some diversity of opinion among its decision makers. Help me make this a better township by electing me as a necessary independent voice on town council. Thank you.
Tom Armins, ladies and gentlemen. And now for her closing comments, Joanne Nadler.
Just by way of background, I moved to Silverthorne 4 years ago, and the reason I got appointed to the Planning Commission was because I was interested in the community, and I started attending both Planning Commission and Town Council meetings. The Town Council knew me because I was an active participant in the community. So I wasn't a member of a closed society, and I wasn't somebody who was an insider. My background is finance and accounting. I've had a successful 25-year career in finance and accounting, and I've got strong experience in land use. My background in accounting has made me thoughtful and analytical. I have very high personal standards, both ethically and in terms of doing research and understanding things before you make decisions on them. I'm open-minded, and I believe that's why I was successful as a planning commissioner, and I've been successful as a town council person. So I would ask you to vote for me for town council because I think I've contributed a lot and I still have a lot to contribute.
And for our final closing comments, Tanya Shadow.
Okay, I just want to reiterate earlier, like I said, I love where I live and I love where I play, and I think that's most important to me. As far as I've been active in the community in Silverthorne, the Summit County, with the Vail Resorts. I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of changes and growth. And I think that's very important. I think I also bring in kind of a good angle in the sense I am the working community. I live in the community, and I think that's very important. You know, having been up here for 24 years, it's a huge change. I've seen a lot of things come and go, and a lot of good and bad, and I want to keep that going. And I guess the big thing would be, as your town councilwoman, I would like to just make sure that you see my energy, experience, honesty, and passion for public service to work, and I'm willing to be fair and effective voice for all the town of Silverthorne residents.
Tanya Shadow. There you have, ladies and gentlemen, your 5 candidates for Silverthorne Town Council. You'll be electing 5. You'll be electing 4. 4. Not all 5. As much as a lot of people would want to, you'll be electing 4 of these folks in the election coming up. We want to thank once again our sponsors of today's forum, the Summit Association of Realtors, the Summit County Builders Association, the Summit Daily News, and we invite you to watch the forum over and over again between now and the election on summitcountynews.com, channels 10 and 880. Thank you, Brad Williamson, for being here today. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with our Frisco forum. Thank you, David.